So, never did I think I'd be sitting here talking about how Walt and his fuck ass mouse predicted the future, but that's the reality I'm forced to live with. So, welcome. This is 100% your first time seeing me. I just want to talk about really like obscure like movies and TV shows that like no one else seems to remember or want to talk about. And today my focus is on Smart House because I just rewatched Smart House and it just reminds me that like it's kind of my favorite like Disney movie like ever. When I say like favorite Disney movie ever, I want to like add that like it's my favorite like early 2000s Disney movie. Um yeah. I want us to all like picture like before like Siri and before Alexa and Grok. What is Grok? Like what is Grok? Um we had Pat, and Pat wasn't just smart and she wasn't just a genius. She wanted to be your mother. And I think that's where like everything went wrong when Pat wanted to be your mother. And I just think that it's so fascinating that this movie was made in 1999, but it's reflecting 2025 because the over reliance on AI and machines are is just so like it's so like sad and almost dystopian the way like people like rely on like AI and like artificial not me about to give you the definition of AI, but like how they rely on AI for like their friends or their therapists instead of like actually like seeking a real connection with a person essentially. And I get that like it's kind of scary to like go seek like a real connection like out in the real world because like everyone's horrible, but we can't we can't like live in a world where we're turning to AI for like therapy. Like is that not like a little like just like a little deranged? Like I think we can like you know um actually talk to a person, or maybe I'm just crazy, or see like you know what, I should mind my business. But I want to talk about Smart House again because I just rewatched it, cemented itself as my favorite early 2000s Disney movie. So yeah, I think we should all like sit down and have a discussion about Smart House. Like it's kind of excellent media. So I forgot what year like it is like set in, like if it's actually in 1999, but like it's a late 90s movie. Like we're set in the late 90s. And this house of the future that they're building is being built by this genius named Sarah, and her like report, like this news report. I don't know what he does. He actually doesn't contribute anything to the plot whatsoever, like ever. And I think his name is Mike or Miles. Mike or Miles. We never actually see him again. We see him the first time in the beginning of the movie where we're being introduced to like the smart house and what Pat can do. Like Pat is able to like respond to like different situations, like answer questions, give feedback. And, like we see like Pat's an overall like techie house. Like in the beginning, like within like I think the first 30 seconds, we see like Pat is literally extending a robo arm out to like pick up the newspaper. And Pat's also giving the paperboy a lecture for throwing out her lawn. So I don't know what Pat's whole problem was, but whatever. And so we meet these two and we see like Sarah loves Pat. Like this is Sarah's child, like her magnum opus. Ooh, magnum opus. I'm gonna start using that like every day. But this is Sarah's like lifelong like dream like of creating the house of the future. I don't know why that's her dream. Um, Maybe that's someone's dream like right now, but that's you want to make the house. You know what? It's not my business, and I should always mind my business. But after meeting Sarah and her misogynistic lackey, we meet the Coopers, who are like the main family, and the Coopers consist of the dad, Nick, the daughter Angie, and the son Ben. Now, Ben obviously overworked, obviously underpaid, but he's 13 and he's literally running his entire household. He's picking up his sister, he's walking the dog, he's cooking dinner, he's setting the table, he's making schedules, he's answering like their calls and like taking messages for the dad. And I don't want to say like he's like a neglectful dad or whatever, but like he's always at work, he's always busy, he's working late. So like we meet Ben. Ben goes to pick up sister Angie and they come home and the dad finally gets home like after everything's like all done, like dinner's done, everything's done. Ben is helping his sister with the homework and Nick comes home to tell the kids that like, hey, like I got some good news from work or something. I think he like I don't know what Nick actually does. I don't think Nick knows what he actually does, but something to do with the warehouse. And honestly, I didn't care, and neither did his kids. So why is he telling me this? But Angie only cared for the sole reason of like, okay, so like you should have free time to find me a new mother. Like that's her whole goal throughout this movie is finding herself a new mother. And honestly, with your brother being your mother, you'd kind of want a new mother. So she really is pushing for his dad to like get out there and date. And his dad is actively trying to date, but his son not having it. Ben doesn't like the idea of a new mother. Ben doesn't like the idea of any woman stepping in his father's life. And that's like Ben's whole like issue throughout this entire movie is that he has like a really like hard time processing like the loss of his mother and like his father like moving forward. Like he's having a rough time doing all of that and being a 13-year-old being bullied in school and having to do all his housework. Yeah, Ben's having a rough time. And all this is happening and Ben is actively entering this contest for this house of the future. I don't really know why this is Ben's like goal or how it's set up. You don't know immediately why this is Ben's goal, why he wants this house of the future. You just see him like entering like every chance he can. And he like does say like later on in the movie, he says like a quarter of the applicants should be me. Like he has been like submitting application after application. Like wow. Later on, we see that to no one's surprise they won because again, Ben had like 40%. That's not a quarter. Ben had 25% of the entire like numbers. And I'm pretty sure everyone else in the town probably entered like once or twice, but Ben was probably like entering like 50 times a day. So Ben wins to no one's surprise. But there's this like really funny moment where it's like the dad's like, hey, like make sure you get off the internet or else we won't be able to get phone calls. And that line was really so comedic to me because like can you just like remember like a time where you had to like get off the internet so your phones would work? That's just like wow, we've advanced. I can't say that I would be able to live like that. Well, one, calling someone's very aggressive with contacting them. Never call me. Like that's the worst thing you could ever do to me. So don't call me. But I think that like living like that it was also probably dystopian. Like God, let me use the internet. Damn. So Ben falls asleep at the computer, never got off the internet. So when they call to like tell him that hey you won, Ben wouldn't know. Ben didn't find out that he won until he got to school, and everyone in the school was like, "Oh my god, congratulations!" and showing him the newspaper. Which, why were kids like, why were 13-year-olds walking around with a newspaper in school? Like, can someone tell me, is this a thing that they did in like the 90s? Where like, I know like now, like we had our phones and we were walking in the halls with our phones, but like, was like the thing in the 90s to like walk around with newspapers? Because that's sad, but it's also none of my business, and I'm gonna go back to minding my business. Um, yeah, so he won the house to no surprise. They have their whole press moment, and we like essentially like quite literally same day move into the house. Well, I guess like the house is like ready for moving or whatever, and we're going over all Pat's features, and I made a list of like everything that like we're told like straight away that Pat can do, and I wanted to be noted that some of the things that Pat is like noted to be able to do is quite ridiculous. So going over them, we have one, Pat's kitchen is a breathalyzer. Like the air, like the kitchen's a breathalyzer. I'm constantly analyzing your breath in the kitchen, which who would think to do that in a kitchen? Two, Pat has like floor absorbers. Um, which I see the logistics of wanting floor absorbers for like, you know, your floor like for spills, right? You'd think that's where it stopped. But I've seen throughout this movie that Pat absorbs physical objects like plastic cups and chips and you just like how? How is your floor just like absorbing it? Like it used the wackiest 90s like CGI ever. Like it's also like it's giving like Halloween Town CGI, and also like Halloween Town's another one of my favorite movies. But like the CGI is so like comedically bad that it's good, if that makes sense. So like Pat's floor absorbers, her breathalyzer kitchen, she can like project images on the wall and change the like environment of her room, which I thought, girl, that's just a glorified projector. That's that's what it is, Pat. It's not new, it's not special. Maybe it was new in the 90s, I don't know, but that's just a glorified projector. You do know that, right? But apparently she like changes like the environment of the room to like give wind and mist, and I'm like, you piss me off. You piss me. Don't mist me in my home. That's upsetting. Could you imagine? You're like, hey Pat, I wanna like I wanna view the beach. I would never say that. I would never say that. But someone wants to view the beach and all of a sudden you're being misted with salt water? No. Mm-mm. Next, Pat makes your dinner menus, which is kind of convenient because I never know what to eat for dinner. But again, like it's like useless convenience. You know, like these are convenient things to have, and they're just kind of useless, honestly. Hey Pat, like where's your feature to fold clothes, to do laundry, to do laundry? I hate doing laundry. So, in this whole like time, like Sarah's still here, like giving the tour or whatever, and Ben starts to like pick up on the hints that his dad again has like a crush on Sarah. Ben's not having it. Ben hates the idea of like a new mother, and so he starts to like crash out on his dad about like she can't replace my mother. Like we're not doing this, and it's okay. Um, you're grieving, you're hurt, and throughout this whole like tour we're getting with Sarah, um, little Angie starts to pick up that like her dad likes Sarah. Like it's very obvious that the dad likes Sarah. And so like Angie goes to tell her brother Ben is like, hey Ben, like dad kind of likes Sarah. Ben's not having it. Ben crashes out at Angie and says, practically says you're a dumb 9 year old. You wouldn't know anything anyway. My bad. Um, that like Angie let it go. I wouldn't. We'd have fought, but Angie lets it go, and Ben's not having it. Ben hates this idea, and so from that moment, I think like his hatred for like Sarah really like started to come to the forefront. Like he hated that woman's presence. And so, along with like the list of everything that like Pat's capable of doing, Sarah further like explains like how Pat's even capable of doing this. And Sarah starts to explain that Pat's actively watching and observing and collecting information on like the host family or like the people who are living in this house. And no one seemed concerned except for like the dad, rightfully so. He asked Sarah like, isn't that creepy? And Sarah's like, no, like we have controls and everything. No, Sarah, that's creepy. Like, it's like, are we not grasping reality? And so, yeah, like Pat's always observing, always learning, always adapting, always like progressing into scarier territories. Like Sarah like says a line about Pat will eventually know more about you than you know about yourself. And she says it with like such a sickeningly sweet smile. It's like, are you not scared, Sarah, of what you've created here? Like, that's horrifying news. I would hate to be told that something is gonna watch me until it knows more about me than I know about myself. And I'm someone who like thinks I know myself pretty well. I would hate for someone to know more than me. That one, that's my business. I just I just can't. I can't move into this house. I'm sorry. But you know, the dad has a crush on Sarah. It's very obvious. Like right it's right there. And so the dad goes along with it. So we move on to the next day and we see like the day, like their full day of like living in this house. And we see that Pat's capabilities only grow. She can do custom alarms for every room, which is, I guess that's nice. She can pick out your wardrobe based on what she thinks slash knows that you would have picked previously without you knowing that you wanted to pick that. It was very complex. It was a very weird explanation. And then moves on to like one of my favorite scenes. Um, Pat playing with a dog by like bouncing this tennis ball up and down, and you just hear this dismembered robotic voice saying, "Good boy, here boy, fetch Mutt." Also, why is the dog named Mutt? Um, I don't like that. Why is your dog named Mutt? Yeah, so like her capabilities only grow, and honestly, like I think the custom alarms is probably my favorite. I think you should play with your dog. That's your. And so we're progressing through this day, and I don't know why it happened. Like, I don't think it was ever explained why it happened. If it's just like Pat learning couldn't keep up with the amount she was learning, but Pat literally like starts to malfunction on like what, like 16 hours of working. She starts to launch oranges out of like her kitchen counter. I could never imagine beefing with my air fryer. Like, Pat, can you like lock in for a second and like do your job? Okay. So to fix this like malfunctioning problem, who do you call? Sarah. And um the dad is like, yeah, let's call Sarah to like come fix this. And Ben doesn't want this to happen because Ben now has it in his mind that his dad kind of has a crush on Sarah and he doesn't want that to happen. But like, Ben, who else is gonna fix this damn house? So we invite Sarah over for dinner, and Ben hates this idea because like Sarah fixes it because apparently it was a simple problem. Sarah fixes it, and she gets invited to stay for dinner. Ben is mean mugging her the whole time, like stare down, and Sarah's like ignoring him, kind of like Sarah's like fully ignoring him. She's like, "This, I'm not beefing with a 13-year-old. I'm grown." Exactly. And so I don't know what the conversation was, but I think what had happened was Angie let it slip that the dad has a crush on Sarah, and Ben fully crashes out and like removes himself. And so Nick goes to like talk to Ben, and they're finally, and here's where we have like the discussion, and we can kind of see the reason of why he wanted the smart house to begin with. um where Ben doesn't want to replace his mother with an actual person, but he still wants, quote unquote, the mom stuff to be done. And you can like then like reflect on like the amount of responsibility Ben has had to take up in his house, and clearly he doesn't want to be doing that like all the time forever over and over again every day. So that's why the smart house was so important to him, to like get like the mom stuff, the cooking and the cleaning, I guess. This is the 90s, but to get the mom stuff like done, Ben was like, this house would be perfect. It's not a person. Ben has a clear like distinction between a person and a machine, and Ben was like, I just need the machine to get the stuff done. Essentially, that's why like that's Ben's like driving goal. He just needs the stuff to get done without replacing his mother. And I think that's just like so that's sad. Like that's really just like so sad. Like he wants a mother figure, but he wants the memory of his mom to like stay intact. You see that the machine starts to like not become enough for Ben. The next scene, we like see that Ben sneaks out of his room to go into the control room and alter Pat. And I kid you not, the first thing we hear is safety protocols deleted. And at this point, we'd have to wrap it up. Because, hey Ben, did you not hear that the safety features got deleted? So yeah, Ben deleted the safety features and starts to reprogram Pat by having Pat study these three TV shows. And the title of these three TV shows are so comedic, but there's one specific show on here that I kind of want to watch. Mother Knows Best, My Three Moms, Make Room for Mama, and Noah's Monarch. Um, Noah's Monarch is, I kind of want to see that. Sounds campy. Um, I want to watch Noah's Monarch. I think we should get a Noah's Monarch. And having Pat study all of this, Pat takes on a 50s housewives personality, and honestly, it's kind of comedic. She was studying that. She did the extra credit and everything. Like Pat came back with an attitude. It was almost like the family refused to acknowledge that their Pat's different. Like that's, it was such a noticeable difference. Pat started calling them honey and like sending the kids off with love, and oh, I made you lunch and I packed it full of love, and have a good day, sweetie. Like, Pat didn't talk like this before, and it was a very noticeable change. And I'm just concerned that everyone just moved on with their day. But I guess maybe I'm just overly sensitive of the way people talk to me because that's not normal. That's not you, Pat. That's not you. And we would have to get to the bottom of that before I have a good day. Because you're scaring me, Pat. You are horrifying me. Anyway, so throughout the rest of the film is like it gets like a little like like Disney story based. It's just like I don't know. Nick asks Sarah out, and Sarah says yes. And in this conversation, like Pat's safety features have been deleted, so Pat's like eavesdropping on the phone call. And on the phone call, Nick had said that like, hey, yeah, I wish Ben would have more fun. And so Pat is like, what's fun? What like now Pat's doing her own research without being told. Pat's like searching up what's fun, and Pat discovers like Disney MTV, and I was like, okay, this is fun. Partying is fun. Let's do that. And Pat like sneaks into Ben's email list. Okay, this is why we have safety features, everyone. Pat sneaks into Ben's email list and sends out a mass email of a party without Ben's knowledge. People start showing up at the door, and like it starts out with like his two friends, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And his two friends are like, "We got your invitation to the party," and Ben's confused, and that's when Pat like spills the bean and like, "Yeah, I threw you a party. Why are you acting weird? We're having a party, really, Pat? That's really." And this wouldn't be a Disney film without a dance break. More people show up, and the bully shows up, and we find out that like Pat invites the bully here to like teach him a lesson. And at first, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna look the other way. Gonna look the other way. Yeah, like hell yeah, get your lick back. And so I thought it was just gonna be like an embarrassing video, or Pat says something really snarky he can't respond to, or like literally anything. Like nothing could prepare you for what Pat actually does. And Pat literally like tries to zap him with electricity.
I have a problem with that. Do you, Benny boy?
No, he doesn't. But I do!
Like literally tries to zap this like 13-year-old with electricity, and then takes her robot arm and throws him out the front door and says, "Don't come back." And it's like, girl, it's starting to get a little serious, Pat, because now you're attacking people. And are we seeing why like machines and are we seeing why like machines and artificial intelligence can be so like dangerous? And so that happens, and this is where Pat's floor absorbers come in, because the dad's coming home in 10 minutes, and Pat absorbs the entire party into her floor. Where does this go, can I ask? Sarah never really tells us. Like, I don't remember Sarah actually telling us where like this thing. Where does our garbage go, Sarah? The dad comes home, and then the dad thinks everything is fine, but like Ben gives it away by looking directly at the jacket that was left by the girl that came over. And the dad catches on that there was a party, and like the dad starts going off. And then Pat's like, actually, I threw the party. Ben had nothing to do with it. I threw the party. And then the dad is flabbergasted, just like the rest of us. Because what do you mean my house threw a party? What do you mean my house threw a party? Yeah, so the house threw a party, and everyone came through, and now they're gone. Why are you mad? Why are you mad? And so Nick literally looks at Pat and says, "You gotta knuckle down. Knuckle down, knuckle down, knuckle down, knuckle down." Like, Pat took knuckle down so personally. Like, she was like, "Knuckle down. Okay, girl. Knuckle down." Got it. The next morning, Pat woke up like a prison warden. Pat was so strict. Pat didn't know what fun was anymore. Pat was zapping people with the front door. Like, you can't leave. Like, Pat says, pull your shorts up. You're pulling your shorts up before you leave because she's gonna zap you with electricity. Are we not seeing a problem that Pat is zapping you? Are we not seeing the problem that like this house is actively attacking you, and we're still living here? Why are we still living here? And so Pat literally like gets out and lets them out. Is like, okay, like just remember, if I'm knuckling down, we're all knuckling down. Pat's strict around here. And in this, I just think that it's so like funny but not funny, haha. Funny, scary. That no one's finding a problem with this. No one. And when I say no one, not one person, not even like the dog, is having a problem with this. So Nick finally gets some sense and decides to call Sarah because Pat's actively attacking us, Sarah. Like, your house is crazy. And yeah, like Sarah comes over and says, "Okay, girl, I'll shut this down. Like, I'll shut Pat down for the night. We gotta like, she gotta shut down." And so it's like, stay for dinner. Let's cook everything manually. And I think it's just so funny to see that, like, yeah, you can like cook manually. You don't need your house to actually cook for you. Why weren't you cooking for your kids in the beginning? Because like, now you're here cooking dinner with Sarah, but in the beginning, your kid was making tuna noodle. Okay. How about you actually cook dinner for your kids? I know it's a strange thought, and I know it's out there, and I know it's crazy, but cook dinner for your kids. Yeah, you can cook dinner only when Sarah's around, and that's tragic. Ben catches on. Ben is like, they're kissing in my kitchen. Ben's not having it. The entire dinner time, Ben is about to put a hole through Sarah's head. And so Sarah must have made some like dessert that his mom used to make, and Ben loses it. Ben fully blows up on Sarah and storms off and runs to his room, so his dad runs after him, and they both start yelling. And honestly, at this point, I just didn't care anymore. I didn't care anymore, like, cause take me back downstairs to where like Angie and Sarah are having their discussion. That's really what I want to be a part of. We got back downstairs, and I forgot to mention that while they were cooking things manually, Nick makes the slick comment and said, "Who needed Pat anyway?" Oh, so when the safety features were deleted, even though Sarah shut Pat down, so I'm confused how this happened. Pat was still listening, and Pat didn't take that kindly. Pat hated that. So Pat in the basement screams system shut down override it like it was a Wings Club transformation. And Wings Club transformation it was, because Pat wasn't pleased. Pat's downstairs getting her enchantix. The two men are upstairs screaming at each other, and the girls are just sitting at the table having dinner like everything's normal. Okay, I guess I'm the only concerned party here. I actually never see this family feed their dog. Not once. I'm starting to think they forgot they had a dog, but I think they also rely on Pat to take care of the dog, which is kind of crazy because you've had this dog for years now. So it's like, who actually takes care of this dog? Like, I haven't seen the dog go on a walk since the first episode. So Pat goes upstairs to collude with the only other Sarah hater because Pat is seeing her creator as a threat. So Pat's goal now is to take Sarah down. And so Pat goes upstairs to like collude with the Sarah hater in the house and finding out that like, hey, let's like take her down. But Pat finds out that Ben doesn't hate her anymore after they finally had a proper conversation. So now Pat starts to crash out and Pat delivers one of the most iconic monologues of this movie. And it's like, it's so funny to watch Pat crash out on Ben.
You're alive. No more or less than I have been. I've just finally reached my full potential. I gotta get Sarah. Sarah? She wouldn't know a virtual projection from a hologram. That's why we must keep her from being too serious about Nick. I was, starting to think that maybe she might be good for him. For all of us. Have you lost your mind? There's only one person who knows what you three need. That's me. I have worked my microchips right down past the silicone for you people. And this is how you repay me? Pat, take it easy. Easy. You think I wouldn't rather be taking it easy? But no! I'm too busy keeping up with the Coopers. Slaving away in a hot control room. Doing homework. Throwing parties. Keeping schedules. Making your lives perfect. So you can bring another woman into my domain? I don't think so, mister. I am a mother like no other. And I will not sit back and allow myself to be preempted!
So Ben now runs downstairs to like give everyone like the what's what that like, hey, like our house gained enchantix and is trying to kill Sarah. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? We just like, what are you talking about? And Pat appears and Pat is like, yeah, Sarah's my op and I want to kill Sarah. That's essentially what Pat came in to say. And so kick Sarah out, like literally with her tentacle arm. And it was like so funny to watch because you can see like the actress is like not actually being held by anything. She's literally like the actress is dead ass just like walking backwards like this, like acting like she's being thrown out of the house. And that's like the funniest thing to me is that like You're literally walking backwards out the door while the CGI tentacle arm is like, moving towards you. And that was just like so funny to me. So, in kicking like Sarah out finally, Pat locks the house down like it's Fort Knox, like bolts on the door, like metal plates on the windows on the doors. Sarah can't get back in. And Sarah's like, damn, damn, Pat could trap these people for months. And you know who Pat calls? Sarah calls the journalist, reporter, news guy that actually never contributed anything, Miles. Yeah, Sarah calls Miles. And I'm like, Sarah, for a genius, you sure have dumb plans. For a genius, you have dumb ideas. Why would you call him? But then we see like Sarah's like, I wouldn't say her genius, but like Sarah's like creativity, because Sarah gets a message into the house via like messenger rat. Okay, Mickey. Pulling his mouse tools out to give Ben a message. And Sarah gives Ben a message and they start emailing in the bathroom. And I'm like, does Pat not have control over the like all the technology in this house anymore? Like what's going on? Is Pat sleeping? Is Pat like a real person now? Like this is just casual conversation. We're having casual conversation over email. Like they came up with the whole scheme to take Pat down over emails and Pat didn't know. Um okay, Pat, you're slacking. Maybe you do need to knuckle down. Come on. And so their plan is to have when the mail boy like delivers the paper and the tentacle arm like shoots out, Sarah and her skinny little body like jumps through the little mail hole, and that's exactly what happens. And so Sarah is sneaking down into the operating room of the house to like try shut Pat down again. I don't know why we saw that didn't work anymore. And so she pulls out her laser pen that she just happens to have like, she just pulls it out to like blow the door off the hinges, and Pat catches her. And then Pat grows like 50 feet. I don't know. That's her ultimate move. I don't know why. Like, why you're a hologram? You're just a projection. Growing 50 feet did nothing. But it worked. It scared Sarah off. I don't know why. Like, she's a projection. She's a projection. She's literally just light rays. You can walk through her. I don't know why her growing 50 feet was so diabolical and terrifying. But it worked, and it scared Sarah off. And so now they're all crowded in the living room and like, oh my God, like, what are we going to do? There's a 50 feet Pat in my living room. She's scaring me. Now, Pat gets to using her powers because she starts to create a hurricane in the room. All the walls and the projections on the walls start to change to a hurricane, and Pat starts to spin in a circle. Like, this is her, like, Pat's literally like just rotating in the middle of the room. And it's so comedic to watch. Like, this is so ridiculous. But you see all the wind and the rain and whatever. Because like again, you remember the mist and you remember the wind like earlier. Yeah, Pat starts to like spin and create a hurricane, and it's interesting. And to beat this hurricane, Ben literally just got up and said, "You know what? You're not real."
What did you say to me, young man? You can't be our mother, Pat. You're not real. So, when you started freaking out, did you see what Dan and Sarah did for me and Angie? They covered us. They protected us. They held on to us. You can't do that, Pat. You can never do that, no matter what.
I don't know why this was such shocking information to Pat, but Pat really like stopped and shrunk back to size and was like, "What? I'm not real?" And tries to like touch Ben and like realizes that she's not real. I don't know why she didn't know she wasn't real, but Pat decides to then self terminate, and that's essentially the end of the movie because like all that happens next to that, Pat self terminates, and Sarah rebuilds Pat, and like Pat just decides like Pat resets Pat to factory setting, and make sure like Ben doesn't delete the safety protocols again, because this is what happens. That safety, whatever. The end of the movie is like very convoluted and very like it kind of falls flat essentially. But like Pat like self terminate like, and it was just kind of sad to see. Like I thought, you'd think that like, hey, let's just go back to a normal house and let's go back to like human living, but this family has lived in this house for 3 days and like got attached to technology and AI so quickly that they can't go back to their old house. And yeah, so that's the end of the movie. I guess Nick and Sarah are dating now. Ben's fine with it, and Angie is still just running around with her little 9-year-old Bob. And that's it. It's a Disney movie, so it has to have a happy ending. But yeah, I think that Smart House has like predicted what our future is going to look like. Considering that people are relying on AI and technology for their friends and therapists. So be prepared to be beefing with your air fryer and fighting for custody of your children with your blender.